Welcome into Week 5 Thursday Night Football, where we have the Bears taking on the Commanders. I can't wait to get into this one, talk to you guys about some fantasy starts that I like and even possibly some sleepers. Let's get into the video. Let's take a look at the fantasy players to watch in this game. First, on the Bears side, the top fantasy players, in my opinion, are quarterback Justin Fields, running back Khalil Herbert, wide receiver DJ Moore, and tight end Cole Kmet. For starters, let's talk about Justin Fields. Fields is going up against a defense giving up the 13th most passing yards and ranked 23rd for fantasy points allowed to opposing quarterbacks. Justin Fields finally had a good game last week, but I wouldn't be clicking my heels together thinking we finally found that yellow brick road. We're off to the glory old days. Nope. I still stand by what I said this offseason. Justin Fields is just not a good quarterback. He has difficulty reading defenses, not only pre-snap, but also just recognizing what play the defense has called to be able to process his reads. Fields needs to continue to develop, and if you're in the clouds thinking that Fields is the next Lamar Jackson, then you're just going to have a long season. Fields is definitely worth watching, but if I were you, I'd stay far away from Fields as possible. Now let's move on here to Khalil Herbert. Herbert going against a defense giving up the 12th most rushing yards and ranked 15th for fantasy points allowed to opposing running backs. Herbert is just a meh kind of play. He always has that Roschon Johnson nipping at his heels, and when given the opportunity, Herbert just isn't giving you those wow type of plays on a consistent type of basis. He is, however, being productive with those touches that he is getting, is why I say go ahead and start Khalil Herbert. I just wish that he was giving you those type of plays where it tells the coaches that there is no way they could ever move on to the rookie Johnson anytime soon. I just hope he proves me wrong, but until then, I see Herbert as just a meh kind of start. Next is DJ Moore. Moore's going up against a defense ranked 29th for fantasy points allowed to opposing wide receivers. Moore has to feel like he's playing with one hand tied behind his back. Going from Cam Newton to Baker Mayfield down in Carolina, now to Justin Fields, it really just can't get any worse. He could have Zach Wilson, so yeah. Anyways, Moore is always a weekly starter for me. He can take a 3-yard hitch and take it to the house just based on his talent alone, so he will always be in play for me. The Commanders have struggled containing the wide receivers thus far this season, so it's easily a smash spot for Moore. Lastly, let's go ahead and talk about Cole Kmet. Kmet is going up against a defense ranked 3rd for fantasy points allowed to opposing tight ends. Kmet is looking like a big part of this offense once again. The problem is that they're going against a Commanders defense who is on lockdown mode on the tight end position. If you have a better play on your bench, sit Kmet this week. If you don't, just start Kmet and hope he can get you that lucky type of touchdown catch against a solid Commanders defense. Now let's go ahead and switch our gears and move over to the Commanders. The top fantasy players for this team, in my opinion, are quarterback Sam Howell, running back Brian Robinson Jr., and wide receiver Terry McLaurin. First, we'll talk about Sam Howell. Howell is going up against a defense giving up the 4th most passing yards and ranked 31st for fantasy points allowed to opposing quarterbacks. Let's just face it. Sam Howell has had an up and down type of season. Howell could be in just staring at a 300-yard passing game this week, though against this Bears defense. I've said it on the channel before, Howell has shown some flashes to where it makes me believe that he can be an outstanding quarterback in this league. He just needs to string together some solid games and be consistent for people to recognize his true talent. I believe this week he should produce a banger. If you are in need of a quarterback, pick up Howell and throw him in your lineup. Now let's talk about Brian Robinson Jr. Now, Brian Robinson Jr. is going up against a defense giving up the 15th most rushing yards and ranked 15th for fantasy points allowed to opposing running backs. I think Robinson Jr. is a good play in this spot. If the Commanders can take an early lead, I can see them trying to really establish the run, unlike what they were able to do last week against the Eagles. I see a much better fantasy performance this week from Robinson Jr. Last but not least, for the fantasy players I'm watching this week on Thursday Night Football is Terry McLaurin. McLaurin is going up against a defense ranked 21st for fantasy points allowed to opposing wide receivers. McLaurin is clearly the number 1 option in this offense. I'm starting to see that nice chemistry being developed between him and Howell. McLaurin has always been that trusted 1,000-yard receiver, and many kind of wrote him off. But, with the rookie just taking the reins this season. But like I said this offseason, McLaurin's talent is just too great to fade. We're now starting to see what he is capable of. 100 yards and a touchdown this week is what I can see in my little magic ball here. And start McLaurin in all leagues. Just like there's players that I would target in this game, there's also some sleepers that you could put into your lineup if you're either in a pinch or just need somebody for a flex spot position. For the Bears, I could see Roschon Johnson and Darnell Mooney as fantasy viable only in terms as a flex play, and that is if you're desperate. If it was up to me, I wouldn't start either of these guys, but there is a chance that one of them could have some type of flex appeal if the game script goes the right way. Johnson just isn't getting enough workload behind Herbert, and Fields just isn't producing to the point to where I would trust Mooney having a good fantasy game. Both of these guys are officially sleepers in my book. For the Commanders, I can see Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, and Logan Thomas having a shot at some fantasy relevance if you're in a pinch. Dotson and Samuel are both battling injuries, but assuming they both play, they just aren't providing consistent fantasy numbers to make my initial list. They are both, however, sleepers because a touchdown is not out of the realm of possibilities for either of these guys. If bye weeks or, probably have you kind of in shambles, take a shot on one of these guys. You could have some type of surprise. And let's talk about Logan Thomas a little bit. He does look like he has some good big catch possibility. He could possibly get you a touchdown as well. I think Sam Howell does like this guy as long as he can stay healthy and out of these concussion protocols, because people just like to target him in the head for some reason. Like I saw him last week, somebody went right for his head. But as long as he can stay healthy and good, he should be a good option, especially if you need somebody for that tight end spot. Go ahead, plug and play Logan Thomas this week. As always, thank you for watching the video, as we have 2 more videos coming out this week to best prepare you to win in week 5. Our ultimate goal here is by the end of the season, you are holding up a trophy. Hit the subscribe button, really helps us out. We're almost to 700 subscribers. Be a part of the family. I can't wait to see you guys on the next video. We'll see you guys tomorrow, and we'll see you next time.